of your forklift. You are also responsible to know how to properly place and secure the load in order to ensure safe handling of material. If you ever have a question about the load capacity of your forklift, center of gravity, or stability of the load you are working with, ask your supervisor for assistance. Asking questions can ensure your safety. If you have to temporarily leave your forklift, you must follow these procedures. Make sure you lower the load, put the forklift in neutral, and be sure to set the parking brake. If you are ever going to be out of sight of the forklift or more than 25 feet away, you must also shut it down. We will now discuss some general safe operating procedures. Again, you as the driver are responsible for operating your forklift safely. This includes driving at safe speeds. If there is more than one forklift operating at the same time, you must keep at least 3 truck lengths distance between them. Always use extreme caution when approaching blind spots and intersections, and sound the horn as a warning. And never pass other vehicles going in the same direction. When moving with a load, the forks should only be high enough to clear obstacles and unevenness in the floor or ground. Raising them too high will affect the center of gravity and create a possible hazard of hitting overhead objects. When ascending or descending a grade with a load, you need to travel with the load upgrade. For example, when traveling down this ramp, you need to keep the load uphill. Always go straight, never at a diagonal. If you need to go up an incline, you must again keep the load uphill. When you are ascending or descending a grade without a load, the opposite is true. You must always keep the forks facing downhill. Always use extreme caution when ascending and descending ramps and inclines. Following these simple rules can mean the difference between safe operation and a serious accident. You should always be looking in the direction that you are traveling. You must also have a clear view of your path. If the load you are carrying obstructs your view, then it would be better to travel backward with the load trailing. But you must do so while always looking in the direction you are traveling. When backing up like this, go at a slower speed and be extra careful when turning so that you don't hit objects with the load or cause the load to tip. Never travel faster than is safely possible. Make sure your steering motions are smooth and sweeping. Never turn or stop suddenly. This can cause the load you are carrying to shift or fall. It is your responsibility to look out for people. Pedestrians always have the right of way, and never drive a forklift up to someone standing in front of a fixed object such as a wall. Never allow a person to cross or stand under the forks when they are raised, whether or not there is a load, and never carry passengers. If you need to lift people with the forklift, you must use a special lift basket that meets OSHA regulations. It must be secured to the mast or forks, and when it is lifted off the ground, never allow a person to step out of the safety basket. Observe all posted signs, such as height restrictions, weight restrictions, speed limits, and stop signs. And never park your forklift where it would obstruct access to fire extinguishers, fire escapes, electrical panels, or stairways. Also, avoid running over loose objects, especially when carrying a load. If something is in your path, stop your forklift following the proper procedures, get out, and remove the object. If you ever find yourself in a situation where your forklift is going to tip over, it is very important that you follow these procedures. Never jump from the truck as it is overturning. You will be much safer if you grab onto the steering wheel, brace yourself, and ride the truck over. This is one reason why it is so important to wear your seatbelt at all times. Remember, a forklift is very heavy, And if you try to jump out, you are much more likely to be crushed by the forklift itself than to get out safely. The bottom line is to know your equipment. In addition to all that we've discussed in this program, watch out for differences in the operation of your machine. Be aware of the temperature of the vehicle. Watch the gauges. Listen for changes in the sound of the motor, the lift mechanism, how the tires sound against the floor. Notice any changes in the smell, such as something that is too hot. Also, look out for unusual oil or fuel smells. The more you know about your machine, the wiser you will be to its safe operation. If you ever have a question, ask your supervisor. It's better to be safe than sorry. In this part of the program, we are going to discuss the proper procedures for operating a forklift on rough terrain. The definition of a rough terrain forklift is a hybrid-powered industrial truck with oversized tires and high ground clearance, which can be used on unstable and uneven work surfaces. As we saw in the first part of this program, a standard forklift is to be used on smooth surfaces such as pavement, concrete, and packed surfaces. Rough terrain for our purposes refers to operation on gravel, dirt paths, and any out-of-door site where a standard forklift would get stuck. As you can see, a rough terrain forklift has a high ground clearance, allowing it to cross terrain that a standard forklift would get stuck in immediately. Its large tires help prevent getting stuck in soft ground and mud, and provides a smoother ride for both the driver and cargo. Some rough terrain forklifts are equipped with four-wheel drive. Just as with standard forklifts, it is very important that you conduct a thorough inspection of the vehicle before every shift. Once again, every manufacturer's rough terrain forklift is a little different, so you must refer to the operator's manual for specific checkpoints. If you find anything wrong, make a note of it on your checklist and report the problem to your supervisor immediately. All the same rules that apply to refueling standard forklifts also apply to rough terrain vehicles. If you follow the same procedures, you will ensure a safe working environment. Always turn off the motor and do not restart it until the fuel cap has been replaced. Know the load capacity of your forklift and the weight of your load. Just as with standard machines, this information is very important. There may be times, such as when working on very soft surfaces, that you will need to carry less than the rated capacity to avoid becoming stuck. And the same rules apply regarding the center of gravity and the stability of a load. Always keep the forks as far apart as possible for the load in order to have the greatest stability, and always keep the load against the carriage. In addition, keep the forks as low as possible when transporting the load. Be aware of sloping surfaces when raising a load. If you raise the load at an angle, you could possibly tip the truck. When working with a rough terrain forklift, choosing a route is a very important decision that you, the operator, need to make. It is always best to choose the route with the least obstructions. If you must choose a route with bumps, slick spots, or loose material, slow down. Always keep a safe distance from the edges of ditches or excavations because the ground can give way. Remember that a forklift is very heavy, and when loaded, it may easily cause the ground to collapse where another vehicle might not. Also, use extreme caution when the route is muddy or slick, especially if sloped. Travel slowly and avoid turning, which could cause the truck to slide or tip over. As with a standard forklift, if your rough terrain forklift starts to tip over, never jump from the cab. Brace your feet, grasp the wheel firmly, and lean forward and away from the point of impact. Remember, you should always be wearing your seatbelt. When leaving the rough terrain forklift on an incline, tilt the carriage slightly forward and lower the forks until the tips touch the ground. Shut off the power and apply the parking brake. You may need to chock the wheels if the incline is steep and the forklift is loaded. These rules apply even if the driver is going only a short distance from the truck. In rough terrain situations, the slightest movement of the truck, if it slides or rolls, could cause the truck to tip. especially with a load. The forklift is a tremendous machine, and when used properly, will make an impossible job by hand possible. But it is up to you, the operator, to always be alert to the safe operation of your forklift. If you follow the instructions you have been given in this program and study in further detail the safety procedures for the specific forklifts you drive, you will ensure that your work will be safe and productive.